for Sloan. Lomax with an oh, what have we just seen?
G'day and welcome to the GameDay Squad NRL Fantasy Show. I'm Stu, that's Dill, and we are the FantasyBros. We're excited to announce that we've partnered with GameDay Squad this NRL season to bring you all you need to know for GDS Rugby League in 2025. Dill, we're already at round 2 of the trials, and round 0 is so close I can almost taste it. Do you want to let listeners know what we're bringing them in season 2025?
Yeah, g'day Stu, g'day viewers and listeners. Yeah, I'm absolutely pumped for the NRL season. Obviously, we powered through the Big Bash season and now we're here. We are finally here. This preseason, we are bringing the GDS community 3 positional ranking shows, forwards, halves and backs. We'll also be launching a whole bunch of content throughout a whole range of our socials. So make sure you jump onto YouTube, Spotify and Apple Podcast, as well as TikTok and Insta. That's at FantasyBros AU. Look, we'll be pumping out a lot of shorts. We'll be giving you tips on how you can succeed with GameDay Squad, as well as talking through some of the must-have players of 2025. Then throughout the season, we will be coming to you live every Wednesday night to discuss the all-important start sets of the week and revealing who we're starting in our championship squads.
That's right, Dill. Cannot wait to rip in. And look, it's not too late for you all to rip in either. It's really simple to get started. Simply download the app or visit the GameDay Squad website. You can create an account and use the promo code FBRL25 and you'll be rewarded with 3 9-player common packs just for doing so. You'll get 27 cards to start building out your classic and your starter squads, and you'll be able to start fielding a really competitive team in no time. You can also use our 2 referral codes, which you can see on screen, and I'll read them out shortly as well. And that'll give you even more packs, and you'll also be given a plethora of bronze packs as well, so you can really get that starter squad rolling. Those referral codes for even more packs are 31Z, 92QY4, and 5N005JTO. So why wait when there's plenty of cash and pack prizes to be won each round of the NRL season? So sign up now and join us for plenty of fun. Now, if you've ever seen a Fantasy Bros video, you know that we're all about giving away free stuff, simply for tuning in and engaging with the content. And we've got 3 more epic prizes that you can win between now and when the Vegas games kick off in less than 3 weeks' time. We've got a 9-player unique pack. We've got a 9-player rare pack and a 9-player common pack up for grabs. But these packs aren't your normal packs. They're not your normal run-of-the-mill packs at all. They're preloaded full of the top 30 players that we'll be covering over the next 3 episodes. So don't worry, you won't be getting any Brandon Piakuras, Kieran Forens, or Blake Lorries. You'll be getting an assortment of GameDay Squad's best players. Dill, let the audience know how they can win these prizes, please.
Yeah, an unreal opportunity. So that's 3 opportunities there, 3 prizes. And all you need to do is simply watch the show, subscribe to our channel on YouTube, and comment who your top 3 forwards are for 2025. Do that for each of our positional shows to earn 3 entries into the giveaway. So that's all you need to do. Really easy. And we'll, as Stu said, we will be giving those away on that first live show of the year, Wednesday the 26th, just before that Vegas round. Look, Stu, enough of the admin stuff. Let's rip straight into the top 10 forwards episode. Look, let's kick it off with a bit of a debrief. Some players might be new to GameDay Squad. So let's take a look. In GameDay Squad, the forwards are made up of 6 players on field. So we've got 1 hooker, 3 middles, and 2 edge forwards. And then your bench consists of 2 players, and that can be in any combination of those positions. So you might mix and match with your hooker, your middle, or your edge as well. All players on field and your bench contribute to your score. So it's super important that you consider your bench players just as much as you consider your on-field players. It's something really important to make sure you focus on. And for us, we really look at probably playing our middle forwards more so on our bench than any other position. And that's simply based on their workload and their points per minute. We generally see that they're better in terms of the points that they rack up per minute on field than something like the hookers or the edges. Middles are also more consistent at scoring, so they're definitely the safer play. So that is something to really consider. And that's why when you look at our top 10, you'll probably see quite a few middles through that top 10 forward positioning rankings. Look, before we jump into that top 10, Stu, do you want to go back through the top performers of last season?
Sure, mate. Yeah, we had Damien Cook being the top averaging hooker. He had an average of 57.97. We had Isaiah Yeo leading the middles. And as you can see, that average was massive, a huge 64.93, just showing you how important those middles actually are. And we had David Fafita go about his business really nicely. He averaged 59.7 as well and topped the edge forwards. Mate, no doubt these players are set for another big season. So I think we should dive straight into who we think are going to dominate up front. And we'll reveal our consensus top 10 rankings for 2025. And we'll start from number 10 through to number 6.
Yep, so our top 10 through to 6. Look, this is our consensus ranking. So we sat down, went through our own rankings, and then put our heads together. At 10, we've got Hamoli Olakau'atu. I think he is probably set for a massive season, so we'll chat more about his performance soon. At number 9, we've got the returning Tino Fasuamalawi. He comes back from that injury from last season. At 8, we've gone the ever-reliable Harry Grant. At 7, Adam Fanua-Blake off to the Sharks, new team, so hopefully a big season for him. And then at 6, we've gone Connor Watson. Look, as I said, at 10, we've gone Olakau'atu, and I really think he will continue on from what he did last year. He's primed for a really good year, I think, in probably one of the best attacking teams in the competition. I think that's probably fair to say. Look, he's got the likes of Hopewade, Garrick, Turbo down that right side, and that just spells some danger there for any defensive side on the left. Look, last season he averaged 50 points across 19 games. And of those 50 points, 30 of those approximately were made up from base stats each week. So that's a pretty good base to be working from. And we know that, Olakau'atu really needs those attacking stats to be able to bump up that score. So we want to see him maybe getting the ball early and with some time and space in front of him so that he can make a couple of tackle breaks and potentially have that offload to then add to that base.
Yeah, mate, I know I'm a little bit higher on Haumole than you are, but I really like the start of his season last year. He was averaging really close to 60 in those first 12 weeks before sort of really falling off and only passing 60 twice more and failing to pass 40 on a number of occasions. So I think he's ready to bounce back. But he's only one of two edge forwards in our top 10. And you're going to see why shortly, we rely so much heavily on middles. And one of those middles we're expecting really big things from is our number 9th ranked player, and that's Tino Fa'asuamaleaui. He only played the 2 games last season before, unfortunately, rupturing that ACL. But I think we can put a line through those 2 matches. There wasn't really any indication that he was slowing down or doing anything poorly before that ACL rupture. So the 38.7 average is nothing to worry about. We just put a line through that entirely. So if we look back at his 2023 numbers, he averaged 52.5 across his 19 games. So I can see a fairly similar average this year. Yeah, he's coming back from that ACL rupture, but it typically doesn't slow down those big, strong middle forwards too much. It sort of really impacts some of those more dynamic and explosive players that move quite laterally, such as, your fullbacks who rely on that sidestepping and change of direction at speed. But we know Tino just goes full speed ahead. He's got such a great tackling technique. He loves an offload, and he definitely rips in. So if he's fit to go, there's no reason why he can't get back above that 50 average. He did average 62 minutes in 2023. So I'm a little wary of him seeing the same amount of minutes to start the season. So it's probably best just to wait and look at him for a few matches and play a few other middles first. But yeah, I can see him being a really important part of this Titans outfit. If they're to go any well, it's probably on the back of him and a lot of go forward.
Yeah, and the other thing I really like about Tino is because he didn't play majority of that season, he's probably going under the radar a little bit. The other good thing potentially for Tino is that they've got the bye round 1. So a lot of coaches might not be looking at the Gold Coast team at all over those first couple of weeks. So he might just be a little cheeky point of difference there for a lot of players come round 2, 3, 4 when we've got our eyes on a few others. So yeah, I'm keen to see how he goes coming back from that massive ACL injury. But like you say, running forward, no need to change direction. Just take the hit up, earn your meters, earn your base stats, and we will be laughing, I reckon, with Tino. On to our number 8. Look, Harry Grant, I'm going to throw out a little spoiler here. He is the highest ranked hooker in the forwards positioning that we have. He is the only hooker that we've got in this top 10. And there's probably pretty good reason. Look, he just missed out on taking the top honours last season. Damien Cook obviously got that. But Harry Grant, he should come in again and have another unreal season. He averages almost 0.7 points per minute across 2024. And that had him ranked 6th for hookers who played more than 10 games. But it's the consistency that I really like from Harry Grant that really gets me. His average was made up of mostly base stats, so that's tackles, meters gained, and then he also had a little sprinkling of kicking meters in there as well. And I think the other thing that I really like about Harry, we know that he's got the attacking upside when he wants to have a little dart from dummy half. There's a little tweak to the 10-meter rule. We've been seeing it in the trial games, and if that's to go through to the regular season, we might see a few more opportunities for Harry, and maybe even a few more at the line where that rule might come into effect. So I wouldn't put it past Grant to just get over the line a couple of times, darting from half and from hooker, and that would be obviously just that extra bit of gold onto his already unreal base stats.
Yeah, for me, a bit of a no-brainer, particularly to start the season, apart from round 2 when they have that bye. So it'll be interesting to see where coaches go in that round. But yeah, look, with Cook being the standout last season, averaging more than Grant, he now joins the Dragons alongside Jacob Little, who in his own right had a really good season as well. But, you know, we don't know what's going to happen over there. Are they going to share minutes? Are they going to split minutes? Is Cook going to stay on the field when Little comes on and maybe move to a 13 role? In that case, maybe it is Cook that we look to play long-term. But with too many question marks around that sort of setup at the moment, Harry Grant's a really easy plug and play. If he can sort of clean up some of his missed tackles, I think he averaged about 3.8 last season, and his running meters of only 67 were down on previous seasons as well. So there's plenty of improvement, and he wasn't too far behind Cook last season anyway. So for me, yeah, as much of a no-brainer as you like in those early rounds, and then we can sort of reassess that position from there. Mate, someone that I'm really interested and eager to see how he goes this season is our number 7th ranked forward, and that's Adam Fanua-Blake, who makes his way across from the Warriors over to the Sharks. Now, he did average 60 minutes for the Warriors, and a lot of those games were probably heavily inflated due to a number of injuries. You know, Tohu Harris went off a number of times. Wade Egan is a bit of a walking injury at times as well. So Fanua-Blake has certainly proven that he's got a motor and he can go big when he needs to, but I'm not so sure he's going to need to as often at the Sharks. What will be interesting is to see what bench makeup they run with. They've named Daniel Atkinson on the bench for the trial. So if they do decide to run with 3 forwards and Atkinson as well, that obviously speaks to Fanua-Blake a lot more, and we might even have him too low down on our list if that's the case. But look, he just is one of those standout forwards that breaks tackles and offloads for fun, and he finds the line on so many occasions as well. He scored 7 tries last season, which you might think is a lot for front row forwards, but Tommy Hazelton for the Sharks scored the exact same amount of tries, and he only averaged 38 minutes. So if someone like Big Tommy is crossing the line 7 times after some quick play the balls at the Sharkies, and, you know, with Blake Brayley scheming out a dummy half, I don't see why Fanua-Blake can't replicate that 7 and even maybe push into the double digits.
Yeah, and I think, you know, a couple of those things that you touched on are really important for Fanua-Blake. The first one being his minutes. I know that he came out last week and said that there could be a reduced workload for him and reduced minutes as a result. So that's concerning because, you know, he did a lot of his really good work, as you say, when he had that 60 plus minutes and he, you know, made sure he was hitting at least 60 points in any of those games that he was playing at 60 minutes. The other thing for me is that try scoring ability. I feel like there might be an opportunity for him to increase on that try scoring opportunity. Look, no disrespect to the Warriors halves throughout the season, and Metcalf, Tamari Martin and Sean Johnson. Look, I love them all, but Adam Fanua-Blake goes over to the Sharks, and he's got Blake Brayley, he's got Hines, who knows how to put a front rower into a nice hole through the line and then over for a try. So I wouldn't be surprised if Fanua-Blake scores more than what he did last season, but it's just about those minutes for me. If his minutes increase, then I could see him pushing into the top 5 of the forwards for sure.
Yeah, agree.
Look, on to our number 6. It is Connor Watson, and there is a lot to talk about with Connor Watson, and I absolutely love the spot that he is in at the moment. Obviously, we've got an injured Brandon Smith, and we've got Sandon Smith moving into the halves over there at the Chooks. So that means that that hooker role has opened up for Connor Watson, and hopefully he takes it and he runs with it. I'm really keen to see him playing hopefully 80 minutes. It looks like that might be the case. Obviously, a few trials and Teamless Tuesday for round one will be interesting for sure. But look, last season when Watson had 4 games starting in hooker spot at the Roosters, he played an average of 75 minutes across those 4 games. He also averaged 46 tackles and 90 meters per game. So that's an average of 55 GDS points there in base. That's just base alone. So not even attacking stats on top of that. So I really like the spot that he's in. That obviously the question marks are going to remain. Does he stay there? Does he move to a lock role when some of these players come back? But I think for me, you've got a middle forward who's playing big minutes and looking for plenty of opportunities to run and to tackle. I think it's a no-brainer that we lock in Connor Watson into that middle, maybe on the bench is probably where we'll probably see him.
Yeah, I think he's got a whole heap of upside this season. That 48.76 average can probably be passed fairly comfortably, I'd say, particularly looking at the amount of games he started from the bench. He also left the field with an injury-affected 14 minutes in one game as well. So there's plenty of upside there as well. What I love about his game is the amount of work he gets through, but he's also very efficient. He only misses 0.8 tackles a match. And, when we compare that to someone like Harry Grant, who's missing in excess of 3, that's a pretty big 7, 8, 9 point turnaround just in that missed tackle stat alone. So I think even moving back to lock would be an even better +4 Connor Watson, and his average was just shy of 60 when he played at lock last season as well. So his missed tackles did rise a little bit with the extra workload, but yeah, with JWH and Terrell May not there, they might need him playing plenty of minutes through the middle and certainly tackling a lot and running the ball plenty of time. So some with plenty of upside and a round 1 start on the middle forward bench certainly wouldn't look out of place in my squad. All right, mate, let's jump on to the top 5 of our rankings. So they're revealed on screen now. And for our audio listeners, we've got Mitchy Barnett at number 5, Terrell May, that Tiger, at number 4. We've got Dave Fafita, our top edge player, at number 3. And then we've got Isaiah Yeo at 2, and our consensus number 1 forward for season 2025 is Bronco Payne Haas. Mate, I'll kick things off with Mitchy Barnett. Surprised to see he only averaged 65 minutes at the Warriors last season, but he was so consistent, and that consistency earned him a State of Origin call-up. He can move between the edge and the middle, and he filled the void so often due to so many injuries in that pack. And while everyone was going down around him and missing tackles and that sort of thing, he was just turning up each and every game and getting through plenty of work. He averaged 70 minutes on the edge, but his average was about sub 50. So I'm really hoping to see him stay in the middle, because his numbers at prop or pretty much playing that lock role really saw an increase in his base points and his overall average as well. So I'm less into him if he's named on the edge. There is that increased likelihood of maybe scoring some points on that edge, but the work he gets through in the middle, he tackles everything that moves, and he's someone that always puts his hand up to take a carry when things are getting tough. So I just love the way he plays. We saw the claret streaming from his face in that first trial game. So he's already eager. He's already hungry, despite losing his big mate, Fanua Blake. That's even more responsibility for Barnett now that Tohu Harris has gone as well. So yeah, big season for Mitchy Barnett coming up again, I think.
Yeah, and like you touched on, the average minutes was surprising to see of only 65. But the thing I like is that he had 11 games where he played over 70 minutes. So we know he can do it. And whether that was due to injuries or whatnot, we know that he's got the motor to be able to do it. So I would love to see him potentially get to that sort of 70-minute average this season. The other thing I'm really interested in keeping an eye on, and it didn't happen in the trial, is who ends up taking the kicking duties. Obviously, Luke Metcalf has it at the moment. We saw last season Luke Metcalf had a pretty horrible injury and missed most of the season. And if that's the case again, if there's any injury to Luke Metcalf, I expect Mitch Barnett to pick up the kicking duties. And if he does, that is just absolute gold. You're talking 4, 5, 6 points per game on top of whatever his workload is going to be as well. I think it's a no-brainer if he does pick up the kicking duties there that we run with Mitch Barnett. Look, the other thing I really like, he's already averaging 40-odd points in base. Just due to those, the hit-ups and the tackles. So I'm really keen to see what sort of workload he picks up now that Adam Fanua-Blake's gone, Tohu's gone. There's a bit of changing of the guard there at the Warriors, so it'll be really interesting to keep an eye on how he goes. On to our number 4 ranking, ranked forward. This one had us sort of debating a little bit whether he should be higher or not. And I think it all comes down to his minutes again. I feel like pretty much every one of these players that we talk about, it comes down to the minutes that they're going to play. But it is Terrell May. He is at a new club, so he has a massive season ahead of him. Look, he had an absolute beast of a season last season, and majority of that was off the bench. He was coming off the bench and just scoring big points, and was averaging over 1.06 points per minute when he was coming off the bench, which is massive. So he knows how to get through his workload. Across his 24 odd games that he played, he averaged almost 50 points. However, majority of those, like I said, were off the bench. When he was starting in the middle in 2024, his average soared to 66 GDS points with, like I said, a points per minute of over 1. He's moved to the Tigers. They're in desperate need of a leader in the forward pack. I think that, Seifarth's been around there a bit. A couple of other players, Twal has sort of toiled away, but they haven't had someone stand up. And I think Terrell May is that perfect player to do that. We don't know his minutes, but if he can get 60 plus, he's going to be a top 5 forward. In the 2 games that he played last season where he played over 70 minutes, he averaged 100 GDS points in each of those games. He did score a try in each of those games, so we take that out. It's still 90 points a game. If he averages that, he's the best player in GDS. And if that happens, I think I will sit here and say that Stu, you were right, and I have to eat my hat.
I wouldn't be surprised, Dill, if you're saying that come week 6 or week 8, I think he's in for a monster year. Everything is sort of aligning for him. Stefano's moved off to the Storm. There's no real standout forward at that pack, and he's even reported. He even said on a podcast a couple of weeks ago saying that he wants to play 80 minutes. He stuck his hand up already to tell the coach that he wants to play 80. He can. He's proved it plenty of times before. He just hasn't really needed to. And no middle forward really does need to. And there's that risk of burnout and injury and that sort of thing. But he's certainly proven that he definitely is capable. And those 90 and 100 plus scores are just evidence of what he can do. He doesn't go downhill when he gets the bigger minutes. If anything, he even kicks on another gear and goes and gets even better. So that average of just shy of 50 is super impressive when you look at the fact that he played 10 matches under 40 minutes, and he even played 5 matches under 30 minutes. That Roosters pack had a lot of big, strong boys through the middle, and now, he moves to that club that is quite different in comparison in terms of the big boppers through the middle. So I don't even think he needs to get 60 or 70 minutes to shine. If he gets 70, he'll be an absolute god. 50, and I think he'll push Isaiah Yeo and Payne Haas for that top gong. Anything above 50, and it's money, I think.
Yeah, lock him into that middle forward spot for sure.
All right, our bronze medal, our 3rd place for the forward position. We've gone edge forward David Fifita. And looking at his numbers as well, it was really surprising to see he only averaged 72 minutes last season as well. He was probably eased in for those first 6 or 8 rounds coming back from injury. But he was playing more closer to 80 minutes later on in the season. And in games above 70 minutes, his average moved above 61. And it dipped a little bit closer to 55 when he was playing less than 70 minutes. So there's the expectation that he will be playing close to 80 most of these matches. By all reports, he's fit, he's firing, he's ready to go. So those minutes should remain pretty consistent, pretty high all year round, save for any injuries that might occur. What we're not really sure about is the half situation at the Titans, which could put a bit of a cloud over Fifita's output and success. He went really well with Kieran Foran inside him, where Foran would just give him a lot of early ball and said, "Here, Dave, do your best." But a lot of defenses were sort of able to cotton on to that. They knew he was getting that early ball, and they could put 2 or 3 players around him and prevent that offload. But he was still a beast. He's still able to break tackles and set up tries with offloads and that sort of thing. So the fact that Foran was giving him early ball sort of was contributing to a lot of uptick in base. But I don't know it's going to be as bad of a problem with Campbell and Brimson, who's reported being the halves partners, and maybe Foran off the bench. If anything, maybe these two, they give Fifita less ball because they're typically run first players. But they also create a lot with the ball in their hand, and they make the defense, have 2 or 3 things to think about rather than just hips out and trying to tackle Fafita when he gets the ball nice and early. Campbell will show a dummy and take the line on and then throw a late pass or a pop pass to Fafita, and then needs to get past one man instead of 3. So while he may get less ball and maybe that base is a little bit lower, I think there's probably an opportunity where he excels maybe in some greater attacking stats. And a man like Fafita really thrives on that attack. And he's that one edge player, probably alongside Haumole Olakau'atu, that can really open up a game with one run, 3 or 4 tackle breaks and finding the try line. So I don't think it's going to impact him too much. He did only score 4 tries last year because the defense could gang up and tackle him, pretty quickly. But I expect some positive regression and maybe he can get closer to his 2023 tally of 8, which should see a nice uptick in his average.
Yeah, definitely. The thing I actually really like about David Fafita is you go back to last season, you have a look at total points from edge forwards, and he ended up finishing second, and he scored a total of 1,194 GDS points, and he only played 20 games. The top scorer of the season was Kalonga Matangi. He played 24 games, and he scored 1,236 points. So there's only 40-odd points difference and 4 less games. So we know that Fafita can go out there. We know that he can turn it on when he wants to. That's, I guess, the problem sometimes. He often might go missing in games where you really want him to have a big couple of runs or a tackle break to get those stats up. He does tend to go missing, but we know that he can do it when he turns up. As you said, he's got a solid base from last season. So he averaged 40 GDS points through tackles and meters gained alone. And then he also had a really good ceiling. He had 25 points average from attacking stats made up of tries, tackle breaks, offloads, and line breaks. So as you said, if we can see a little uptick in those tries, maybe that adds to a few extra tackle breaks. I think Fafita is going to have a massive season, and I think he's pretty much the lock at the number 1 edge spot for the season for me.
Yep, great.
Alrighty, moving on to our number 2. Look, it is Isaiah Yeo from the Panthers. He was the number 1 middle last season, scoring at an average of 65 GDS points per game, and nothing's really changed for me. There's nothing really changed at the Panthers in terms of the forwards. Obviously, there's a little bit of change in the back line and through the spine. But in terms of that forward and the forward rotation, it looks pretty similar. He played an average of 72 minutes last season and then played 80 minutes across more than half of his games throughout last season. So we know he's got the motor to be able to do that. For me, the one thing that I found quite interesting was Yo's demerit. So the points that he lost through a number of negative plays in GDS was actually quite low compared to a lot of other middles. He has averaged less than 1 missed tackle per game and only 0.3 errors per game. So that meant that he had kept all of his stats. He had very little negative plays, which I think if he's able to do that again, he limits those demerits. He's going to have another massive season.
Yeah, just the absolute model of consistency. Hey, that's there's no doubt. There's no reason why he wasn't worthy of that golden boot, doing everything he could for Penrith, for his state and his country as well. The one change that might impact a little bit in the Penrith pack is obviously James Fisher-Harris moving over to the Warriors. But we know that they've got some really good youngsters in Lindsay Smith and Liam Henry, and they're still fairly young though, but Yo will certainly want to shoulder a bit more of that workload and get those boys learning alongside him. So if anything, he's certainly in line for a similar amount of work, if not more. He'll miss a couple of games through Origin, but he rested and he backed up really, really well. He played almost full 80-minute games even upon returning from Origin. So he's not really one of those players where we have to and ah about, should we play him? He might only play half a match. He was he was expected to still play some pretty big minutes in a couple of games backing up. In one of those games, he played the full 80 and scored a try as well. So, yeah, an easy number 1 or 2 pick. And I think if you own an Isaiah Yeo card, he'll be in your side. And you probably want to own 4 of them at least, so you can play him across all 4 teams. And another player that we're going to have in all 4 teams is that man, our number 1 consensus rank in Payne Haas. Could have gone either way for the 1 or 2, but I think these 2 men are going to get the job done. And Payne Haas is probably a little bit more injury prone. We've seen him leave the field a little bit more often over the past couple of seasons with some ankle complaints. And He did average 58 minutes. He played 80 in one match, proving that he can go the full distance, but he also had a 10-minute match in round 22 as well. So the average minutes is a little bit down due to that, but that also means that his average points are a little bit down due to that 10-minute match as well. He averages above 30 tackles a game. He runs for 136 or more meters a game, but those numbers seem to fall off a cliff quite a bit in the second half of the season, where he was clearly hampered by injury, and those numbers took a bit of a hit as a result. He breaks 5.3 tackles a game, and like Isaiah Yeo, only misses 0.6 tackles a game as well. So his floor is super handy with the added upside of plenty of tackling opportunities as well. They've obviously got a new coach there in Brizzy, so there's new hopes, new goals. So I think Big Payne will carry a lot of that responsibility up front. I just hope Madge lets him go nuts with that offload. He's so dangerous when he gets that arm free, and Reece Walsh is backing up on his inside, but he just seems to go to ground too often. Madge just needs to say Payne when it's there, throw it, and Reece Walsh is certainly going to profit from that. So Payne Haas, Isaiah Yeo, massive 1-2 punch for our game day squad teams, and alongside Nathan Cleary, I think they're the top three players in the game.
Yeah, I agree. And I think the other thing for me, and you touched on it there, is that, Payne Haas has probably one of the highest floors and highest ceiling combination of any player.
Yeah.
He goes out and he gets on with his work. His floors are built off the back of 33 tackles per game last season and 165 odd meters gained per game last season, which is a 50-point base, which if you're working with a 50-point base every week, plus you add on to his ability to break tackles, I think you're just laughing with Payne Haas. Last season, he broke an average of, 5.5 tackles per game. He had one game he had 10 tackle breaks against the Rabbitohs, excuse me. If you're taking 10 tackle breaks, that's another 30 odd points on top of your already unreal base. Give him a try as well for that, and you are laughing with Payne Haas. So I think, for me, he's our number one because of his combination of that high floor and the high ceiling. I think he will have a massive season. And like you say, new coach, new opportunity for him to show out that he's the leader of that team, and to put them on his back and maybe take them to a top four finish.
Yeah, we're probably forgetting he's still maybe not even at the peak of his career yet. He's still only 25 years old, which is both scary and exciting for Broncos fans. So we probably still haven't even seen the best of Payne Haas. And maybe 2025 is the season that we do. So, right, mate, that was the top 10 consensus rankings across that forward position. Remember that we can field one hooker, 3 middles, 2 edge forwards, and we can also have any combination of 2 players on the bench. But I think it's important that we also quickly just run through our top 10 hookers, middle forwards, and edge forwards as well, because it's really important that we have some depth players as well. There's going to be, the inevitable injuries, plenty of buys, origin restings, and we're going to need to look beyond these numbers, beyond these 10 players, and find some other players to fill the void there as well. So, mate, I'll throw the hookers up on the screen here. Can you run through our top 10 and maybe one player that you're excited about or you're eager to see go around this season?
Yep. So our top 10 through to 1, we've got Brayley over there at the Knights, Egan at the Warriors, Little, Marnie, Marshall King, and then we've also got Damien Cook there at 5 as well. Robson, Coruscant, Blake Brayley, and then our number 1, as we said, in Harry Grant. And for me, the player that I want to talk about is Damien Cook. We've spoken about him and his role a little bit. Look, he's obviously set for the hooker role, and then as you touched on, potentially that transition into maybe the lock when Little comes on. I think both of them are going to have a big season. Obviously, we've got both of them in our top 10, but it's just going to be whether those roles stay consistent and whether Cookie stays on the field or whether he does have a spell or not. And I think that's going to determine where he does end up. Last season, Cookie had the most tackle breaks of any hooker. He had 74 tackle breaks. The next best hooker had 44, and that was Jacob Little. So 30 tackle breaks difference for the hookers between Cook and Little. So if Cook can replicate that, again, with that slight rule change potentially heading into the NRL season, I think Cook could exploit that. You know what he's like from dummy half. He's very quick on his feet. We do know he's the best beach sprinter in all of the land. So we know he's got that upside as well. So I think the key for me, though, is the argument that people are going to throw at us is that he's 34 years old. And I would throw it back that he is 34 years young. I think he's got a lot left in him.
Yeah, mate, do not mind that shout at all. Really interesting to see exactly what the Dragons do. Haven't they recruited well with a couple of decent signings there? Alrighty, the mid forwards, our top 10 consensus. We've already talked about a number of these blokes. You'll see some very common names because our top 10 forwards was full of mid forwards. But we've got Maxi Plath there at 10, Cam Murray at 9, Hopgood. We've already talked about Tino, Fanua Blake, and Watson. Then our fourth mid forward was Mitchy Barnett, Terrell May at 3, Isaiah Yeo, and Payne Haas. The most interesting name on that list, I think, is Maxi Plath down there at number 10. We knew that he was definitely a goer, and he was certainly going to be an interesting prospect in his debut season last year, but I don't think many of us expected him to come on as well as he did. You know, he's sort of forced into that starting squad through a number of injuries, but he definitely made that opportunity his own, and he was used quite around the park quite differently at times. He was used off the bench. He was used a lot through the middle as a tackle bot. He played a lot of hooker as well with Jeremy Marshall King out of the team. And he just showed that he's so versatile and he's so handy, being anywhere amongst that 13. What I hope doesn't happen is he turns into a really good Mr. Fix-It at number 14, given the Dolphins have recruited pretty well. They've got a couple of players back in their forward pack like Tommy Gilbert. I really hope he stays in that 13. Just depends sort of where he's going to lock down that starting spot and how many minutes he does get. But the signs from 2024 were outstanding in a debut season. You know, playing big minutes, making big tackle numbers against some really big, strong forwards. He looked like he's been doing it for 3 or 4 seasons already. So maybe we've got Maxi Plath too low down there at 10, but I think it's just that question mark over his role and maybe some minutes going forward. But if he was higher up that list come season's end, I don't think it would shock many people.
Yep, definitely agree. Yep, I like Maxi Plath and the role that he has. So let's keep an eye on him, and he could go well. Alrighty, on to the edge forwards and our top 10 list of edges. At 10, we've got Hudson Young, 9, Angus Crichton, 8, Nakora, 7, Papali'i, 6, we've gone Ali Katoa, 5, Dylan Lucas, 4, Preston, 3, Kalonga Matangi, 2, Olakuatu, and then our number 1, as we said, David Fafita. And there are plenty names there that we could spend 45 minutes talking about their role, their opportunity, and their downside, I think, as well. And I think that's the big thing to note is that a lot of edge forwards are almost that boom or bust type play. Quite often, their averages are a little bit lower than our middles and our hookers generally. And except for David Fafita, of course, there's a little bit of downside for each of them. The one player I'm really keen on, though, to keep an eye on and how his season goes is Jacob Preston from the Bulldogs. We obviously saw he come out last season and started most games off the bench, but still had that attacking upside throughout majority of his games. He finished the season with a 53-point average, and most of it was due to his attacking ability. I think he ended up with a number of tries, and a lot of those tries came from either a grubber through that he was chasing or a short ball to Preston there, and he was able to break through the line, which I really like to see. It means that he's backing up and he's working hard and he wants to get there and fight for that opportunity to score. And as I said, like his minutes and roles fluctuated a little bit last season. We saw him come off the bench, we saw him start, but we saw as the season went on, he had a more consistent role at the back end. So if he can come out and play that sort of 70, 80 minutes on the edge for the Doggies, I think that's going to be absolute gold. Add on to that his attacking upside and his want and need to score a few tries throughout the season. I think he's going to end up, maybe that's too low as well. Maybe we're looking at him potentially going higher and looking at that 2-3 spot for Jacob Preston.
Yeah, he's just got representative footy written all over him, doesn't he? He just looks unreal, and he's just growing into that role excellently. And the man below him on our list as well, Dylan Lucas, is probably not too far off that similar conversation, and probably a name we'll be talking about a lot throughout the season as well, should the Knights go well. Well, mate, there we have it. That's a wrap for our first pre-season show. the top 10 Game Day Squad forwards for season 2025 for Rugby League. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Remember, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel. Make sure you comment who your top 3 forwards are for season 2025. And you can go into that draw to win those 3 loaded, unique, common and rare packs full of a number of those players that we've discussed in depth today. Make sure you also use that promo code when signing up. That's FBRL25. You'll get 3 9-player common packs, which go a long way to getting your classic and challenger squads filled out. Use our referral codes as well for even more packs. Dill, thanks as always, mate. And I'll see you for our next video. We're going to go through the top 10 halves for season 2025.
Thanks, Stu. Thanks, viewers and listeners. Looking forward to the top 10 halves. See you later.
See you guys.